1 second here. Hey, Pete, is that better? All right, there we go. So, just to recap on something like FIO, let me just start over. I don't know how many people couldn't hear that last part. So, what happens with this is it's currently in a descending channel, right? And this is a daily chart. So, if I zoom out on the daily chart, right? Um, you know, what I did here was I essentially drew some channels that I saw, right? So, we have a swing high right here. I connected it to this swing high. Then what happened was we have a swing high right here and a swing right here. I connected those two as well, right? So, also I connected this swing low and this swing low, and that's how I got this kind of descending channel right here. So if I zoom back into it, how I would play this, right? Again, being very mindful of the first candle to make a new high on the daily chart, and being very mindful of the fact that a stock around $2, it's really going to react very heavily to your 25 cent mark. So on a stock like this, your $2, your 225, your 250, 275, $3 marks, those are going to be a very big deal. So on a stock like FIO, I personally wouldn't be interested in it until it popped over $2 again. Now, what would be very interesting about a move over $2 is that you're at the bottom of a channel, which essentially would be a very good risk reward entry, right? If you're at the top of the channel and it bounces back off of that, then if you buy too high, you might have to ride that all the way to the bottom of the channel, and that's just not what you want to do. So how I would play this is I would literally try to get in at the break of this candle here on the daily chart. So I really don't care about this stock until it gets over $2. And if it breaks below, your 180s and breaks below 175, then, a move to 150 is very likely because it broke the downside of the channel. And now it's going to have to go find a new price somewhere, a new trend. So, as this works back up, if you were to time this, over 202 here, right? The first level that you're going to have to be mindful of is your 219 level. That's because that's the high of the day before. And the high of the day before that is almost 250. So, you have some room there, but, if I'm playing this stock, regardless of what candle you get in on, whether it's for the break of 202, 219, you're going to have to be very, very cautious around those 25 cent marks. So, if I buy this, for example, on a break of 219, I'm going to have my antennas up around $2.25, and I'm going to tell myself, hey, if this doesn't hold 220, I'm literally out of it. And then if it breaks 225, then it needs to hold 225, and I'm going to expect at least one rejection off 250. So, if I'm in this stock early enough and I hit that 250 level, I'm going to fully expect it for it to come back a little bit off of it. So, with that being said, I would probably take some profit right at 250. And, for this to really get interesting, it's really going to have to start really flirting with $3 to get out of the top of this channel. Or 250 rather, to start getting towards $3. So, over 2 could be interesting till 250, but, the real magic on this would probably start right around, if it breaks this swing high, which it's kind of off of right now. But, I would look for these 2 points because then you start getting out of the channel. So 350, that could be a big deal on a stock like this. So that's FIO. Let's now pull up the next stock. So another one somebody asked me about was LEDS. This is actually something that I've traded quite a bit over the last couple weeks. So let's just do some daily analysis on this. Let me get rid of some former trend lines that I had out here. We don't really care about those at the moment. I don't know where that's going to, so let me just leave it on there. So if we look right here, again, you do have a downward forming channel here. And, we'll keep the daily trend lines blue, and we'll connect it right there. We'll connect another one right here, right? So, first and foremost, when you see a triangle, when it comes to price action, right, that could be a very good thing because what you're going to tend to see, right, is that you have this wide range, right? You're going to have this wide range on stocks, right? And what's going to happen is the range is slowly going to like kind of like slope inward to make a triangle, and then it's going to have to find a price outside of that channel, right? So I wouldn't trade this stock, whether it's long side or short side, until it really got outside of this channel. Now, what could be very interesting and what a little bit of a savvy move could be is that you could time the break of this candle, because it would most likely coincide with the break of this top channel, right? Now, if you were to do that, what you would have is you would have room, essentially all the way up until about 1232 if it starts breaking this $10 mark. I mean, it's 9:35 first candle to make a new high, but if it does break that, then you have room all the way up till here, up till 1232, and then you have room up to 1344. So on a stock now in this price range, what's going to happen is it's not really going to it might not respect the 25-cent marks as much, but it'll really respect the 50-cent mark. So if you get into this at 9:35, which is a really nice entry, for the break of 9:50, then right around $10, you might want to start think about taking profit, because it's most likely going to have to hit its head once, come down a little bit, and then come right back through it, right? That's called a retest, right? So let me just respond to this. So with LEDS, it's a stock I've done very well on, because it's been almost a little bit predictable in certain spots. And all I really do on it is I wait for retest, and I'm very mindful of the daily levels that I pick out. Now, let me be very clear of why, 1234 would be significant, or excuse me, 1344 would be significant, right? Why that would be significant is because, you had, what, like 16 million, 160 million shares on that day that were traded, and that means that there were potentially 100 plus million shares out there that were bought at the top of this that are currently underwater. So what a lot of people will do is they will literally wait until they're break even on it. Let's say they get in at 1250 and it goes down immediately. They're going to be holding and holding and holding, maybe for months, until it gets maybe close to where they got in, and then they're going to start to sell. So, you have a lot of potential resistance up until 1344. So unless there's a really big catalyst on this, then, the only play that I really see on it from a technical standpoint, barring any good news, would be really the break of this 950 level, because then you start, you could potentially make a move up to $10 at that point. And if you could break 10, then there's certainly room up to like a little bit over 12, and then, 1350 almost after that. So with that being said, let's get on to the next one. The next request that I have is, let's see, it's CJJD. So here we go. Let's pull this up. CJJD. So China stock, typically when Chinese stocks get a lot of momentum, they kind of all, move together. So Chinese stocks I do like to play, believe it or not. So that's a good sign. Now, very, very nice channel right there. You got another nice one right here. So this is what's called a descending triangle, right? So this is a descending triangle, and I will draw this out real quick. So where I highlighted right here is a descending channel. Now, typically that's more of a bearish indicator, because look at what you have. You have all these moving averages that are above it, which is, inherently just going to be a ton of resistance on it. So, the 200 exponential moving average is probably my biggest indicator on a daily chart, and that's very important. So I'm gonna make like kind of like a magenta trend line right there, right? Or level line. And, I would not, to be real with you, I probably wouldn't be interested in this stock unless it gets over 125-ish, right? If it can prove to me that it gets over 125, then, the next daily level that you're going to have is, you're going to have these to look out for. So it gets over 125, right? Breaks the 200 exponential moving average on the daily. Then 138 you're going to have to watch out for, 20 million shares right there potentially outstanding. And then you have 154 also, it makes a lot of sense. That's right in line with a 50-cent mark, 150. Be very careful of that 150 line. And then you can really start to see room up to 168. And if it cracks that, then let's see where else we have resistance, right? So I would draw it right at this swing high, right? And that's at 205. Makes sense. Again, right in line with a 50 cent mark, and that'll be very common to see. And that's when the fun starts, because then you would have a gap here, right? This is called a gap, right? You guys see how there's no candles right here? That's literally referred to as a daily gap. So you have a daily gap right here, and what I would be looking for over 206 is a move to 250 almost on a gap fill setup, right? So whenever you see a gap, you could expect it to get filled in a gap fill setup, because there's no resistance there, right? There was nobody there to buy in that gap. There was nothing traded. So, you're not going to run into a wall of sellers, if there's a gap, right? So that would be a very enticing setup for me. So, typically on descending triangles, though, if I could shift the attention back over to this is very important. So descending triangles, me personally, I would probably look for, the move at this point to probably go like a little bit downward. I would probably look for this kind of action, because what happens is that you're getting this increasing pressure downwards, and right at that 92 cent mark. If it breaks below that, there's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be traders from an institutional standpoint, traders from a retail standpoint, that are going to literally say to themselves, okay, that's my stop loss. So, one of the things here, it's very important to understand where other traders' stop losses are going to be. And certainly if I'm trading this, I'm going to literally say 92 cents, I'm out. I'm not interested in it until it breaks back over $1 here. So, you have a lot of resistance to go through, and to be very clear, the lines here. So this is my 100 daily moving average, right? My 100-day simple moving average, or exponential moving average. All the solid lines are exponentials. All the dotted lines are simple moving averages. So you have the 10 exponential right here, the 20 exponential, the 50 exponential in this yellow. And then you have the 50 simple day moving average, the 200 simple moving average, and then you have the 100 exponential, the 100 simple, and then the biggest one, the 200 daily, so the 200-day exponential moving average. So this is, again, this pink line right here, I'm going to make that a little bit thicker so we could pay a little bit more attention to it. But that's going to be our biggest deal. In terms of price action, in terms of daily indicators, right? 200 exponential. So that's really how I would play this. I'm really not interested until it really can make a move over 125, and even then I might be saying to myself, I really don't care about it until it breaks $2. And with a descending triangle setup, certainly I would expect there to be some flushing, right, of the price if it were to break that 92 cent mark. So Pete, do you have any more questions on CJJD? Anything else I can cover? IHT. Okay. So let's do IHT. So IHT, I traded a lot. So before we even pull the price up, or before we even pull up the price action, I could literally tell you right now, I literally have traded this a lot, and what this stock is very, very likely to do, it's very common that this stock pops up and then just flushes, pops up, flushes, pops up, flushes, and it can be very frustrating, so you really need the right approach to trade this. So let me actually take a little bit deeper of a look at this, because this is something that I've traded over the last couple of days. So I want to show you where I put my lines on this. So, again, there's a lot happening here, but let me kind of slowly comb through this. Now, a couple of very big levels here that we're going to have to be mindful of, right? So what I tend to do, if there's a day with a lot of volume, right, what I will do is I will plot multiple days of VWAP, right? So what is VWAP? If you look at my Instagram, and you look and you look at how the essentially how everything's trading and how I use my indicators. I have a video where I go in depth on my indicators, and volume weighted average price is a very big one intraday. So what I tend to do is, let's say, you could see 3 days here, right, where there's been a lot of momentum, right? You have a lot of volume on these days here. So on the first day of volume, what I did in this yellow line, this yellow dotted line, is a VWAP, right, from intraday. It's an intraday volume weighted average price. So what I essentially did, look, it stops right here. It stops essentially right here at 773, and it goes to the next day volume weighted average price. But I will literally make a yellow dotted line continuing where that is, right? And then I'll kind of move that, and I'll always keep an eye of where the second day VWAP is, because it's very common that you're going to see VWAP respected for multiple days in a row. So if, let's say, one day you have a stock and it closes the VWAP, it went from $8 to $16 in a day, right? And that volume weighted average price closed at 14. I'm going to be very mindful of that $14 mark the next day. So in the case of IHT, after the first day I traded this, I was very mindful of about 774, right? Could be a very big level. And look at this. Look at what happened here. You see it kind of hit its head right here multiple times, right? And it will react to it. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But, in the beginning of the day, you're more likely to have retail traders who really have an understanding of what they're doing, what they're looking at. The beginning of the day is really the most important, right? So, I don't expect certain levels to really be respected at, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, because me personally, I don't know anybody that's trading at that time that's good at what they're doing. Unless it's really a strong opportunity, unless it's something that really is just ran. And it's not that common, but it does happen. But this just wasn't the case here. I stay away from midday trading altogether. So my typical trading day is literally 8:30 to like 11:30, and I'm done. I'm out. I'm not touching anything. I'm not, tempted to get into something at 1 o'clock. It just doesn't work the same way. So, you can see when very good traders are trading and retail traders, professional traders are trading, you could see how well the second day VWAP is respected, right? So if I were to move that down now, right, let's see. It literally acted, that's crazy, right? Look, it literally acted as a support during the next day pre-market off that level. So that's a very big deal. But what happens, right? When a stock comes down and meets support, right, and bounces off that support, if it cannot break, or if it has a hard time breaking, the high, and to be clear, the high right here on this pre-market, right, in gray, pre-market was 810. Once it failed to get above there and really had a hard time breaking 8, it's no doubt to me why it really flushed here, because you had this very, very key level of support that was respected multiple times in the second day VWAP, right? And once it broke that for the third time, it tested it for the third time, then it's no question to me why it flushed there. So you have to be very mindful of that. So what I would do with this moving forward is I would literally, let's go back out to the daily. I'm gonna kind of remark where my daily lines are here from scratch, and I'm gonna clean this up a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how I would be looking at this moving forward now. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. So just for continuity's sake, I'm going to make this blue. I want this to be blue just because I made the other daily lines blue. That's a valid channel. These are two valid channels right here. And let me take this one off. And let me take this one off so it's nice and clear. Okay. So now all of a sudden what we have is we have from the couple days of continuation, we have new trend lines forming. So, this one right here, that's a big one. This is also going to be a big one. As we just discussed in the last example, triangular price action is going to be a big deal. So this is forming a triangle. And what I would really expect on this, right? Forget about going as far back as we can and identifying trend lines. Straight up with this one, what we're gonna really focus on is the fact that if this can break, right? If this can break this high, then it's already broken the 3 day the 3 days of momentum that it really had, the 4 days of momentum. It's breaking a very key trend line from those days. So right above around 825 ish, you have to be mindful of 865. You're gonna have to be mindful of 894. But let me tell you something. If this starts to break, 825 and really starts to move strongly through 850, it wouldn't surprise me that this stock hits $10. And once it breaks 894 here, the next thing you're really going to have to worry about, obviously 950, but $10 is also going to be a big deal because $10 is a multiple of 5. So, you any multiple of 5 or 10 is really going to be like kind of like a psychological level on steroids, right? So, for example, if we have a stock that's $8 and now all of a sudden it's a stock that's $10, it's a double digit stock now. In a lot of people's minds psychologically, that's going to be very good to them. So, you could expect a lot of people to hop in because, there's potentially people saying, I'm not going to get into this until it's at least $10, So that's not really a technical level, right? I mean, people just kind of pull that out. But a lot of people do trade like that. So you really got to be cautious. Once it starts to hit $10, I would probably, let's say I got in at 850 and I just held it till 10. I would probably be taking a lot off the table at 10. Even if it cracks above, let's say it goes to 10.15, you could probably see a nasty rejection right off of that, and you would have to expect it to consolidate. A really nice place for it to consolidate would probably be like $9, $9.50, and then I would try to get back in for that move back up, because if it then tested a second or third time, then you could really see a really nice push through. And where would we expect that to stop, right? So now we could kind of pull up the rest of the chart and see where we have resistance. Now, you have nothing over that. Now the stock has been traded for a long time, so you have levels up here, but is somebody holding this from 1995? I doubt it. So I wouldn't even plot those out. I really wouldn't even care about them. What I would care about is just going back and seeing where the all-time highs were. So, it's a long way off of it, but I always want to know where those are, right? So, right here, you start to hit the all-time highs. Once it starts getting over 20, 25, that's when there's literally just there's no ceiling on it, right? There's no resistance. There's no stop in sight. If people are going to buy, then the thing's going to rip. So that's very important. But as far as levels of resistance, I actually really, really like IHT for continuation at some point because, first and foremost, this is a flag formation, right? It looks like a flag, right? A flagpole, right? So, that's a very good formation. That's called, that's very bullish, right? That's a bull flag. So because this is a bull flag, I'd really be in a very nice position to say to myself, over 850, I'm going to try to ride this thing to $10, and over $10, who knows, 12.50, 15. At that point, you're going to have to read the level 2, and you're going to have to understand, who's buying, who's selling at that point, and where the volume's coming from. But, I really, really like this stock over 850. I think it could be a phenomenal play. So, any more questions on IHT? All right, so we'll move on to the next one. Fubo. Fubo's a good one. Guys, bear with me one moment. All right, so as you can see, like I kind of beat this thing up with trend lines and stuff like that. So let me let me clear some of this up, because this looks kind of ridiculous right now. Let's see what we got. All right, so this is fine. So, again, one of the first things that I do is daily trend lines, right? So let's see if we can identify that anything that's like super obvious. So right now you have literally this forming here, right? 2 points, that's it. Don't overcomplicate trend lines. If it's touching in 2 points, then it's valid. The more points that it touches in, the more valid it is. So, I kind of just try to like mess around with these and see what makes the most sense. I'll plot whatever's obvious. See whatever makes a lot of sense, and kind of go from there. So let's see. Then you have another one right here. Nope, don't care about it. Ooh, okay. That's pretty valid right here. And I think that might be it. Let me go a little bit further back and see what else we have now. Yeah, that's really gonna be it, I think. So I also try to connect swing highs, even if it kind of cuts through the price action. I'll still kind of like try to like plot it out. So you have a couple swing highs back here, and if you guys look right here, I mean, this is something that I didn't even see until I plotted it out. But you know, you have multiple times where it kind of acted resistance here, it acted support here, right? And then as we go further, you know, once it got below that, you have a lot of resistance at that level. So this is a super crucial level right here. A very big trend line. I'm going to make that a different color because that's how important it is. I'm going to make that yellow. I'm going to make that a little bit thicker. It's a very big trend line that we should be mindful of, right? So, you know, we have a price of 23. It's about almost $24 at that price, that price level. So, you know, truth be told, you know, I wouldn't be interested in Fubo again. And again, Fubo is something that I traded a lot and have done a lot with. But, you know, that break of 25 is going to be a big deal. But if you're looking to get in early, right, you want to kind of like get in before the masses, you know, make sure that you're one of the first ones in. Then first candle to make a new high is going to be right here. And that's where my entry would be if I want to get in before $25. I'm in at 21.35. So essentially for the break of 21.50, right? Because then all of a sudden, you know, you don't have a lot of volume here where there's a lot of likely resistance to be. If these were like kind of like we're all spiking up like this one was, then I would say we have to be very careful of these candles in here. But truth be told, that's just really not the case with it. So I wouldn't really care too much about these candles being resistance. So, you know, over 21.35, you know, again, the 200 is a very big deal. And, you know, the 200 is 23.68. But, you know, that's $2 a share before you have to be mindful of it. And, you know, $2 a share, it's a phenomenal trade. So with something like this, you know, I would take a stab at 21.35 for sure. And I'd be very careful that, you know, it could reject off 21.50. Excuse me. 21.50 it could reject off. It could reject off then off 22. And I would be very careful of every 50 cents, you know, where it could really find resistance at, right? So, you know, that's really the simple way to play this one. But after 23.68, you have a 100 day moving average at right over 25 or 25.70-ish. And then after that, I mean, you know, you're really in a lot of clear. And what you can do is, that's a swing high right here. But it's at 43, right? So you have so much room on this thing after that. So you have room up to 27, then you have room up to 30, and it's crazy. And then you have room up to 32.26, and then you have room again up to almost 35. So you just have so much room on this thing. If it can really make a strong move through $25, and certainly 21.35 would be my entry on it. So, all right. So, do we have any more requests for any certain stocks? I'm gonna do one more if there's nothing else. AMC. Ooh, AMC is a fun one. So I had a lot of fun with AMC this week. You know, I traded it, you know, essentially Thursday and Friday, and you know, I did really well with it. And you know, from a day trade standpoint, you know, if you've seen any of my videos on Instagram, you know, you'd see that I'm very mindful of the level too. I can read the sales coming in, but that's really not how I play something like AMC because, truth be told, there's so many outstanding shares on it that it's just not going to trade the same way as stuff that I'm used to trading with maybe only, you know, 10 million outstanding shares. You know, with something like this, and I'll tell you exactly how many outstanding shares that it has. It's going to be a lot. Yeah, so it literally has like half a billion shares outstanding. So what I do with those is I just pick key levels, and I'll wait for them to react, right? So I'll give myself a wider stop loss, right? Instead of saying like, I'm in for the break of 1250, and if it hits 1230, I'm out. I'd probably go in a little bit less at 1250, right? I'd take probably half my position that I normally would, and I would fully expect that it comes down to 11.50, $12, and then I would put the rest in, and then I would really kind of even out my cost basis like that. So that's how I would trade something like this. But a few levels that we're going to be mindful of. Again, we're going to go right to the trend lines. That's so as you can see, like I connected these two, right? One right here, and it stopped on the dime, literally right here and right here. So that's valid. That's telling me that's a very valid line, right? It's a big deal. So, then we have another one, right? Another trend line right there, right? It's already surpassed those levels. And then another one could be right here. But again, I'm not even going to plot that one out because it doesn't look like it was respected. And then I'm going to look for where else can it stop, right? Boom, right there. So I connected these two, and look at that. It connected these two, and I didn't even know if they would connect or not before I drew it. So, that's a very big deal. That tells me that it's a very key level. So, it's just not hard to tell you that I'm really not interested in it until it gets firmly over 1450, right? And let's see where, I'd probably play the break of the previous high a day, right? So this would really be my entry. I don't know if 1429 would be in my entry. It'd probably be more like 1435-ish for the break of 1450, because I would try to anticipate the break of this trend line. Because if it tests this trend line a third time, then, it's more than likely going to go through it. If it's only the first or second test of it, then I don't feel too strongly about it. But being that, we've already tested it twice, I'm very comfortable taking an entry as we break that last day high a day. I think that would be a really nice risk reward entry. And then your upside on it, right? You're gonna have to be kind of mindful of this. Let me do a different trend line for that. 1458. Be mindful of, and then we have 1735, and then you have 21, almost 2054. So if you guys remember, this was part of like that whole like Reddit stock craze, the KOSS, GameStop, obviously, this was heavily caught up in that as like a potential big short squeeze. So, that being said, I would really be in it, over 1458, and then, 1735 you have room to. So that could be a very big deal, and that's really how I'd play this one. And then over 21, you'd have to really be mindful of every 50 cents at that point, or every dollar. And then $25 is going to be a very, very big level. So, that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here, and I hope you guys got some value out of this. And, I'll be more than happy to do this again. And every Sunday evening, I'm going to be doing these. So, tune in and let me know what you guys want me to break down. Thanks, and talk to you guys